My name is Deepak Shinde. I'm doing this video presentation for BCAA UK for the certification of Chief Data Protection Officer. The topic of my presentation is the role and responsibilities of the Data Protection Officer in education. In introduction, educational institutions are unique ecosystem built on trust and integrity. They are entrusted with the most sensitive information about our most vulnerable population, children, young adults, and educators who guide them. This data ranges from academic performance and special educational needs to medical records, behavioral reports, and family financial information. In today's digital age, where data is collected, processed, and stored on an unprecedented scale, and responsibility to protect this information is paramount. The introduction of stringent data protection regulations, most notably the GDPR, which is General Data Protection Regulation in European Union, and its influence on global policies, has necessitated a dedicated expert role in these institutions, the data protection officer. The mandatory need for DPO, data protection officer, in educational institutions. Appoint a DPO under Article GDPR 37 for public educational bodies. Public authorities and bodies, including state schools, academics, and universities, are legally required to appoint a data protection officer to comply with GDPR regulations. This is different for different regions or countries as per the laws of their countries. Most of the countries in the world have already created their own acts for data protection. In India, it is well known as DPDPA 2023, which is Digital Personal Data Protection Act. In USA, there are the number of various acts which are used like CCNA or HIPAA. Second, provide schools must appoint DPO for large-scale monitoring or sensitive data. Private educational institutions need a DPO if they conduct sensitive monitoring of individuals, such as tracking student devices or process large volumes of special category or sensitive data. Recognize examples of sensitive data processed routinely in education. Sensitive data includes biometric data, which is used for cafeteria payments, library access; health data, which is medical conditions, allergies, vaccination; ethnicity and race data for equality monitoring; religious or philosophical beliefs; and sexual orientation data for various support services. Appointing a DPO is essentially for legal compliance in education. For the majority of educational institutions, having data protection officer is not option, but a legal necessity integral to GDPR compliance and protecting sensitive student information. Core role and position of DPO in education. Independent advisor. DPO can work as an independent advisor where it operates independently, immune from dismissal or penalty, reports to senior management like the board of governors. DPO can be expert in data protection law. Possesses deep knowledge of GDPR, national laws, and educational data processing requirements. Facilitator Facilitator of compliance advises, informs, trains staff, and develops policies to ensure data protection compliance. Now, for the appointment of DPOs, there are few options like can be an internal dedicated staff member or an external specialist, common in smaller schools or trust. In organizational restrictions, where the position cannot hold roles determining data processing purposes. Example, head teacher or IT director. Key responsibilities of DPO, Part 1, Advisory and Monitoring. Advise staff and institution on data protection obligations. Provide guidance on legal and policy requirements related to data protection, ensuring all education staff understand their responsibilities. Manage and advise on data protection impact assessment, DPIS. Oversee DPIS for high-risk data processing activities such as student records management or new educational software implementation. Guide development of data protection policies and consent forms. Support creation of clear privacy notices and consent documentation tailored for students, parents, and staff in educational settings. Conduct compliance audits of data processing activities. Regularly review how student and staff data is processed and secured to ensure adherence to data protection laws. Lead role specific data protection training for staff. Organize targeted training sessions to raise awareness about data security practices among teachers, administrators, and support staff. Manage the record of processing activity, which is well known as ROPA. Maintain an up-to-date inventory of all personal data processing operations within the educational institution. Key responsibility part 2, point of contact and cooperation. The DPO's role as liaison and bridge advisor in educational context. DPO as primary connection, central figure connecting staff, data subjects, and authorities on data protection matters in education. Data breach role. Before that, internal contact point and external contact. DPO has internal contact point where it responds to staff queries about data handling and manages data subjects requests like access and erasure. External contact point where it connects with supervisory authority and serves as contact for data subjects rights queries. Data breach role. Okay. Here data breach role says you have to report 72 hours after knowing of breach of data. So consulted immediately on breaches, advises on 72-hour reporting, guides communication and supports remediation. Key responsibilities part 3, risk management and DPIA process. Embedding data protection by design and managing DPIs in educational settings. Guide DPIs for high-risk projects, biometric registration and payment system, new student databases, new cloud-based learning systems, behavioral monitoring software, CCTV use in classrooms and common areas. Data protection in practice. These are a few examples. Key scenarios for DPO. Practical situation where data protection officers ensure compliance in schools. With new educational apps for data protection compliance. Here assesses application data, storage location, privacy policy, and complete data protection impact assessments, which is DPIs, provide staff with guidelines on approved educational tools. Then enable lawful sharing of sensitive student information, facilitate secure and lawful sharing of student welfare data with external agencies such as social services, while maintaining confidentiality. Then, advise on publishing student photographs lawfully. Clarify lawful basis like consent or public task for publishing photos on websites, draft consent forms, and manage withdrawal effectively. Guide lawful processing in alumni fundraising communications. Ensure fundraising communications comply with data laws and provide clear opt-out option for alumni. Conduct DPIA and ensure transparency in remote learning monitoring. Evaluate software monitoring, keystrokes, and webcams for remote learning. Maintain transparency with students and parents about data collection. These are few challenges faced by DPO in educational settings. Common challenges encountered by data protection officers, schools, and educational institutions are: overcome cultural resistance to formal data compliance. Shifting from informal trust-based data sharing to formal compliance often meets resistance from staff accustomed to less regulated practices. Then manage limited resource of data protection. Tight budgets in educational settings make it difficult to fundraising security tools and hire dedicated data protection officers. Navigate complex data ecosystems across multiple silos. Data is scattered across student systems, catering, library, health, and teacher files, complicating comprehensive data management. Control unregulated. Bring your own device, which is well known as BYOD, and application uses. Managing the bring your own device culture and unregulated software used by staff and student poses significant security challenge. Balance safeguarding with privacy requirements. DPOs must navigate legal information sharing for child welfare without compromising privacy or fostering a risk-averse culture. Building an effective data protection culture. Fostering a robust data protection culture in educational environment requires champion data protection through senior leadership. Senior leadership must actively support data protection efforts by empowering the data protection officer with necessary authority and resources to enforce policies effectively. Implement ongoing role-based training. Provide continuous training tailored to different roles such as teachers, administrative staff, and support personnel using practical real-world scenarios relevant to the school environment. Maintain clear and accessible data policies. Develop and keep up-to-date living documents written in plain language that all staff can easily access and understand to ensure compliance and awareness. Then integrity privacy by design early in project. Engage the DPO at the start of new initiatives to embed data protection principles into the design and development of educational projects and systems. Then promote positive communication about data protection. Frame data protection as a foundation of trust and ethical responsibility that strengthens relationships and reputation with students, parents, and staff. This is all for support and empower the DPO to safeguard educational data and build a culture of trust. Understanding the critical role of data protection officer in educational institutions. Thank you very much.